Next on the news, they made the journey, but the struggle to survive continues.
The buses have stopped coming for now, but the migrants and their needs remain. I'm Jessica Easthope with how the church is helping them start over in New York City.
Plus, what goes up must come down, but this fast, why that temporary shelter is seeing everyone out. A new president elected by the bishops. Who is it? We have team coverage from Baltimore. Then, remembering the victims, 3 teammates, their careers, their lives cut short. I'm Christine Persichetti. Current News starts right now. Clothe the naked, feed the hungry. Works of mercy in Brooklyn for the newly arrived migrants. After a dangerous journey, migrants are now just trying to make it in New York City. Most want to work, but Current News' Jessica Easthope tells us it could be months before they get permits. She joins us now. Hi, Jess.
Christine, those getting clothes and food at churches like St. Michael's, St. Malachy in East New York have never had to ask for a warm meal or a coat or blanket, but volunteers say they're helping them find their faith again and doing it with as much dignity as possible.
Children, ladies are on that side.
Thousands of items of clothing fill a room at St. Michael's, St. Malachy Parish. Every Tuesday and Thursday, migrants come for warm clothes and a hot meal. They're greeted by Barbara and Vanessa Garcia, a mother-daughter team who sprung into action as the migrant crisis peaked.
We ask, people respond, we serve. Vente aquí con mami.
Barbara is the church's business manager. Vanessa, the director of religious education. The two have made it their mission to give out more than food and clothes.
It's not just come, get your stuff and leave. It's more like come in, get to know us, and we're able to build a relationship with them. Just trying to be as human as possible and treating them with dignity and respect.
There's a pause on the steady flow of buses from the border, but now these migrants are trying to start their lives over in a foreign country with nothing, unable to find legal work.
None of them are looking for handouts. Many of them have asked us what they can do to earn what they've been given.
Hola. More than 1,000 migrants have come through these doors. Barbara and Vanessa say they're just doing what comes naturally to them, helping those in need. And now picking up the slack for New York City's shelter system that's bursting at the seams.
They gave up everything to come here. We should help them out.
All of the clothing and food has been donated by the community.
It's been a great opportunity, I believe, for the church to make a stand and say, here we are, and you're welcome here.
And just like the migrants, Barbara and Vanessa are adjusting to the fluctuating need.
I lay down at night and wonder, are we going to have enough for the next day? And somehow God provides, and we do. Whatever God throws my way, we'll get it done.
Vanessa says she teaches her religious education students about the corporal works of mercy. But even better, the migrants have given her the opportunity to show them.
We teach them what we can, but I like to show them more than be able to just teach them what it is. So for them to see it in action is just amazing.
Many of the new arrivals have been working off the books because of work permit delays. Asylum seekers can't even apply for work authorization until 150 days after submitting their applications. And again, Christine, that's just asylum seekers. Those who are ineligible for asylum will never be able to work legally in the United States.
Wow, Jess, you showed us how the church is helping them physically, but what about their spiritual needs?
Yeah, Father Brendan Buckley told me today that of the migrants who have been coming there for clothes and food, that 30 families have started showing up regularly to Mass. And it just goes to show you the depth of their faith that they have, especially during a time like this in their lives.
All right, Jess, thanks so much. We'll check back in with you on this story later. If you or someone you know needs food or clothes, you can visit St. Michael's, St. Malachy on Tuesdays or Thursdays. The address is 284 Warwick Street. The parish office is open from 11 to 1. And just a note, they will not be open this Thanksgiving. Although churches and organizations are helping to support asylum seekers, New York City will still spend at least $600 million this year on shelter and services. That projected number comes from the city's budget office. Let's break that down even further. Shelter for a family of 4 with 2 kids attending public school could cost as high as $93,000 a year. The total cost of city services could change as the number of people arriving and staying in the city evolves. But there's not that many arriving anymore, and because of the slowdown, the mayor said he's going to shut down that tent city on Randall's Island tomorrow. It could cost around $150 million to build and was pitched for about a month, operating half empty. Officials have declined to say how many migrants actually used it. When confronted with criticism about the quick rise and fall of the tent city, Adams says it was all part of the city's plan.
Part of the plan was to be prepared by having the hurt on Randall's Island. And because we were successful in convincing the federal government that we need to have a decompression strategy at the border, we were able to avert that crisis. That's successful.
New York hadn't budgeted for the plus $600 million, and the mayor previously asked the state and federal government for assistance, but that hasn't happened yet. He said the city is still looking for reimbursement. Also tonight, a new era.
We are successors of the apostles, pastors and preachers.
Who will lead the American church? Currents News team coverage of the bishops in Baltimore. The votes are in, and here's the verdict.
Archbishop Timothy Broglio is the new president of the country.
Archbishop Timothy Broglio from the U.S.'s Archdiocese for the Military Services takes over as president at the end of this week. Archbishop William Lori of Baltimore was elected vice president. Moments before, outgoing President Archbishop Jose Gomez of Los Angeles spoke to the bishops gathered, saying they've been through a lot during his tenure, from a pandemic to the overturning of Roe v. Wade and a worldwide refugee crisis.
We've been through a lot, and we are doing a lot. All of us in the church are being called to a deeper conversion. All of us are being called to step up and open every door for Jesus Christ, to shine His light into every area of our culture and society, to bring every heart to a new encounter with the living God.
Archbishop Gomez also talked about how the bishops stood united through all of it, including the Eucharistic revival launched during his time in office. National correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, John Lavenberg, is in Baltimore. He was there when the announcement was made and joins us now. Hi, John.
Hi, Christine.
So, John, you were there as Archbishop Broglio was voted in as the new president. Why do you think he was chosen? What are people saying about it?
Christine, something interesting about Archbishop Broglio being chosen as the new USCCB president is that in 2019, he was actually the runner-up for the vice president position to Archbishop Alan Vigneron, whose term, of course, just ended. So, on the ballot, he was the one with the most kind of experience as being someone on this ballot and being close to holding one of those positions. So that's something to note, and clearly the vote, it took 3 tries to get that majority, but in the end, he got majority each time and solidified it with that final count.
Yes, he did. And right before that, Archbishop Jose Gomez gave his final address as president. What did he highlight from the past 3 years, and did he offer any advice to his successor?
Well, out of the gate, Archbishop Gomez didn't shy away from highlighting that this past 3 years has been a turbulent time, not just for him, not just for the church, but for the country and world as a whole. He mentioned the COVID pandemic. He mentioned the divisions in the U.S. He mentioned, and that includes the presidential election of 2020. He mentioned the Ukraine and Russia war that's going on. So he mentioned all of these things. And then he said he appreciates the fraternity with his brother bishops and the work that they've put in to be unified as a conference. And he just talked about, the work that the church has to still do in reaching people and the crisis of faith that exists in the world and being there and reaching out. And as for advice for Archbishop Broglio, he said at the press conference this morning that I pray for, he didn't know, of course, at the time it was Archbishop Broglio, but he said whoever the president is, I will pray for them, but they're all qualified and great candidates.
You also heard from Archbishop William Lori, who's been the chair of the USCCB's Committee on Pro-Life Activities. That will change tomorrow now that he was elected vice president. But what did he have to say after the pro-abortion wins during the midterm elections?
Well, Archbishop Lori mentioned, he mentioned the referendums that took place where 4 states chose to protect abortion rights, and he said, that didn't turn out well for what the conference was hoping for. And he went back to something that has been key to his and the USCCB's message on abortion and pro-life issues, is that one, pro-life means throughout the entire life, and 2, that they need to change and engage hearts and minds of people if they really want to see progress and make abortion unthinkable, as they often talk about.
You had the chance to catch up with Bishop Mark Seitz, who as of today takes over as migration chair. How does he plan to address the migrant crisis the country's facing?
You know, something interesting that came out of my conversation with Bishop Seitz is, of course, he is a Texas border bishop right there in El Paso. So what he talked about is he really wants to focus on letting people know and learn about the root causes that drive people from their home countries. And he also talked about the need for people around the country, regardless of what diocese they're in, to reach out to migrants in their communities and to learn from them and understand why they came here. And he talked about how the United States is a country of immigrants and that people need to recognize that in their own stories and then use that to then reach out to those migrants in their own communities.
All right, John Lavenberg, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux. We'll check back in with you tomorrow.
Thank you, Christine.
And tomorrow will be another jam-packed day for the bishops. 2 major topics will be voted on. First, will they choose to change their document on voting, forming consciences for faithful citizenship? And second, the bishops will decide on whether to move forward with 3 different sainthood causes, that of laywomen Michelle Dupont and Cora Evans, as well as Mother Margaret Mary Healy Murphy, the foundress of the Sisters of the Holy Spirit and Mary Immaculate. We'll also hear updates on the Eucharistic Revival campaign currently happening around the country, plus a check-in on World Youth Day 2023 in Lisbon. And our coverage will continue as well. John Lavenberg isn't going anywhere. He'll be side by side with the bishops, listening in to all these important votes and updates. He'll have a full report for us tomorrow. That'll be right here Wednesday on Currents News. Now to some developing news. There are reports that at least 2 people are dead after a Russian missile landed in Poland. The prime minister there has called an emergency meeting. Poland is a member of NATO, and an attack against one NATO member is considered an attack against all of them. At the time of this recording, the Pentagon said it could not corroborate the reports, and Russia denied them. You may remember hearing about this attack back in June, but now the FBI has released new video. Days after Roe v. Wade was overturned in the United States, these masked individuals stormed a pro-life pregnancy center in Buffalo. One is smashing windows, the other throwing something thought to be a firebomb at the building. Months later, the FBI is now looking for your help. They believe the car that they fled in was a red or orange Dodge Dart sedan. They also say one of the suspects is about 5'11". The 2 vandals could face up to 20 years in federal prison. They're offering a reward of $25,000 for any information leading to their arrest and conviction. Anyone with any information should call 800-CALL-FBI. That's 800-225-5324. You can also submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov. There's a lot more news headed your way. Remembering these teammates, lives cut short, a vigil for them, a vigil for Virginia. Plus, we'll hear from the university's chaplain on how the Catholic Church is helping the students deal with their grief. And thanks to an event today, it will soon begin to look a lot like Christmas at churches in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Church bells chime at the University of Virginia, a solemn day after Sunday's carnage on campus. Classes were canceled Tuesday after 3 football players were murdered by a former teammate. Now we're learning about their short lives, celebrated by thousands of community members that flooded the college's lawn. They brought flowers, placed down candles, and shed tears. Currents News' Andy Madison tells us the students were prepared for a shooting situation, but not for this grief.
A shaken campus uniting in grief. The University of Virginia mourning 3 football players. 2 other students were injured after a shooting rocked the school.
The shootings occurred on a bus full of students returning from a field trip. 3 of the victims did not survive.
Gunshots rang out Sunday night An intense manhunt in and around Charlottesville for the suspect followed.
Pardon me.
In the middle of a press conference, the news everyone on campus was hoping for.
Thank you, Captain. We just received information the suspect is in custody.
Police have identified the suspect as University of Virginia student Christopher Darnell Jones, Jr. The 22-year-old was a freshman on the UVA football team in 2018. Police said Jones was arrested about 75 miles outside the Charlottesville campus. The university identified the victims as Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry, all current football players. The UVA football team expressed its heartbreak in a tweet, saying, quote, "There are no words to describe this tremendous loss to our UVA football family." Their coach calling them incredible young men with huge aspirations and extremely bright futures. A sentiment of sorrow echoed by the University of Virginia's president.
My heart is broken for the victims and their families and for all those who knew and loved them.
The suspect's father said he is in disbelief.
I don't know what to say, except I'm sorry on his behalf, and I apologize.
Police said the suspect had come to the UVA Police Department's attention before. They said Jones had a prior incident involving a concealed weapon in 2021 outside the city of Charlottesville. The victims' families and the suspect's father now hoping for answers.
What happened? Why did it have to get this far? He could have called me.
Andy Madison, Currents News.
The Catholic Church on UVA's campus, St. Thomas Aquinas, opened their doors immediately after the lockdown was lifted. Father Joseph Anthony Kress, the chaplain there, said students in this generation prepare for these situations, but living through them and then living with the grief is entirely different.
I don't think I saw a single student show up as a single. They came together as groups. They came together with their roommates. They came together with their friends. They were inviting anybody and everybody to come to be together as a community in prayer and to come to be united with each other in sorrow and in grief, and helping them to then process that and to recognize the evil that this type of violence is, and that evil does not have rationality to it. And so these questions that we ask of how did this happen? Why did this happen? Those are questions that are trying to pursue rationality. And they will always leave you somewhat dissatisfied because this type of evil has no rationality to it.
Father Kress said around 400 students attended the vigil. Parish staff will continue to be available for anyone who needs to grieve. Now to a labor shortage, a healthcare horror that can really be a matter of life or death. Those who rely on in-home services are literally sick over the lack of personal care assistance. David Schumann has one man's story.
Dennis Prothero is often alone in his Stillwater apartment.
I didn't have anybody at night, Monday through Friday, and then nobody at all on the weekends.
Summer's there, but she can't help him in and out of bed. Since a car accident left him a quadriplegic nearly 20 years ago, Dennis has needed personal care assistants, or PCAs, who are lifelines to the clients they serve.
Putting them in bed, getting them up, changing their clothes, giving them a shower, feeding them, etc.
Hard work for low pay, and finding PCAs has become more difficult for Dennis. This summer, without the help, he found himself sleeping in his chair night after night. Sores that developed on his feet got infected, and doctors were forced to amputate below his knees.
If I had been sleeping in bed with the help of a PCA to get in and out of bed in the evenings, I wouldn't have had this.
Some PCA providers have stopped taking on new clients because they can't find the PCAs to help.
It's so heartbreaking to keep saying no, but it's no from everybody. It's a hard job. So it sometimes burns people out.
Minnesota had more than 7,000 vacancies in the personal care industry at the end of last year, the latest numbers available. The median wage was $14 an hour.
I've had other people that I had for quite a while, but they all left for jobs that paid more. And you can't blame them for that. This is a very real problem.
That was David Schumann reporting. Dennis's family is helping him at night for the time being, but that's just a temporary solution. Leaders in the in-home care industry say lawmakers need to allow personal care assistants to be paid more by reimbursements from the state. New York is no different. The shortage there is even worse than Minnesota. According to a report, 74% of New Yorkers were unable to retain a home health aide in 2021. The state is also expected to face a shortage of 83,000 home health workers in just 3 years. That'll make it the worst home care shortage in the country. And still to come on Currents News, let there be light. Church Christmas trees will be merry and bright thanks to a Brooklyn hospital. Plus, this inflation is for the birds. Get ready to pay more for your Thanksgiving meal. We have some tips to save next. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. The Diocese of Brooklyn is preparing to deck the halls. More than 36 churches seen twinkling here across Brooklyn and Queens are now ready to kick off the Christmas season, thanks to Maimonides Medical Center in Borough Park. Every year, Maimonides donates money to help spread Christmas cheer, giving parishes the opportunity to purchase Christmas decorations like lights and trees as part of their celebration of light. The initiative started back in 1995 and has been burning bright ever since. Some of those parishes have already scheduled their lighting ceremonies. To see the beautiful displays yourself, all made possible because of Maimonides' generosity, just go to thetablet.org. We have the full Christmas list of churches right there waiting for you. The cost of your Thanksgiving celebration could be sky high. That turkey is one pricey bird this year, thanks to inflation and other reasons. Jen Sullivan has some tips on having an affordable meal.
Soaring food prices at the grocery store, extreme weather conditions, and now the highly contagious avian flu, impacting what's available and for how much at turkey farms.
Our world is changing. There's a lot of supply chain issues. There's a lot of new diseases.
It's all driving up the price of your favorite Thanksgiving dishes. According to market research firm IRI, your meal this 2022 is predicted to cost about 13.5% more compared to last year, from the turkey, stuffing, and even the pie on your holiday table.
The price of turkey is up about 40 cents a pound year over year, which is significant if you're buying a big bird for a big family.
HerMoney.com CEO Jean Chatzky says there are some easy ways to save money this year. First, she says don't skip the turkey, saying one bird can feed you for a week.
You make a turkey pot pie for the second night. You make turkey sandwiches for lunch.
Chatzky also has these 5 recommendations. 1. Buy frozen over fresh, since items are often cheaper and you can save for later. 2. Look for swaps, like buying canned items instead of making them fresh from scratch. 3. Shop around. Don't be too loyal to one store and go where the deals are. 4. Save on alcohol by stretching it out and serving spritzers and punch instead. And finally, don't be a hero. Assign side dishes for others to bring.
Assign the drinks, assign the desserts, and it cost each individual person a lot less and didn't bust the budget for anybody.
I'm Jen Sullivan.
That's what you have to do, potlucks. That is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.